Dhammapada stories compiled and edited by Gambhiro Bhikkhu. Introductions. The Buddhist canons, otherwise known as the Tipitakas, is the collections of the entire teachings of the Buddha. From out of this vast collections, inspirational verses which touch the essence of what the Buddha taught were compiled and recorded in a book called Dhammapada. These verses arranges under 26 chapters with such headings as the wise, mindfulness, and happiness are part of the earliest extant recorded of words uttered by the Buddha himself. There are 423 verses in the Dhammapadas, and behind each one of them is a story which bears a lesson of great moral values, whether they concern such human flaws as pride and greed, or such virtues of compassion and generosity. It is primarily for these reasons that for centuries throughout Southeast Asia, the Dhammapada stories have been used by parents to instruct and entertain their children, and have been recounted by the monks to inspire the enlightenment of those who came to seek their guidance. As to whether the stories are really based on historical fact or merely the products of vividly imaginative minds, discussion still goes on, but it is evident that the story may not be entirely precise in detail nor free from exaggerations. One is nevertheless advised to keep an open mind in order to be able to appreciate the moral lessons the story are trying to convey. In any case, even those who do doubt their authenticities would have to agree that the lessons they teach provide food for reflections, which may consequently give a whole new direction to the way one thinks and lives. Moreover, because the Buddha always suited his teachings to the age, temperament, character, and mental state of his listeners, one may just be able to identify with any of the characters that are depicted in the Dhammapada stories and benefit from that identification. In addition, the Dhammapada stories are a valuable source of information regarding the personality of the Buddha himself. His temperament. The Buddha was always calm, patient, and compassionate. No instance can be cited where the Buddhas ever displayed any anger or spoke harshly. His great humility, he accepted food even from lowly servants and slaves, sometimes food that had already been partially eaten. His wisdoms and skills in teachings, he was able to uproot the deep-seated unwholesome attitudes of even his most abusive and stubborn accusers and bring them to accepted right view. For our collections, we have selected 32 Dhammapada stories that we felt were particularly interesting and meaningful, and at the same time representative of the different kinds of stories that the Dhammapada contains, whether it is humorous one, as in the story of the fickle-minded monk who kept shuttling between the religious life and the home life so many times that his head was likened to a wedding stone, a poignant one as in the story of Gisha Kotami who, having lost her only son, went from house to house desperately seeking a remedy for his death, or a macabre one as in the story of Angulimala who kept tabs of the number of victims he had murdered by wearing a necklace of their fingers around his neck. We have afforded ourselves the liberty to dispense with part of some of the original story that we consider rather long or dull, and embellished others in an attempt to make them more palatable to the modern reader. This we have done, however, taking care to retain the original meaning of each story. Those who would like to see the unedited versions of our story can refer to the Dhammapada Verses and Story translated from Pali by Da Miatin and published by the Myanmar Pitaka Association, Rangoon, 1986. This edition may not be readily available outside of Myanmar. A more accessible publication is the Dhammapada by Venerable Sri Dhammananda, which was published by the Sasana Abhiguri Wadana Society, Malaysia, 1992, and which, with few exceptions, reproduced the text of the stories in the Myanmar editions almost verbatim. We have relied on these two publications as our main sources of reference in compiling our book. In the introductions to his book, Venerable Sri Dhammananda makes the following remark about the Dhammapada. It is impossible to estimate how many human beings have refrained from telling a lie, killing an insect, spreading a rumor, or taking what is not given by calling the mind to a story from the Dhammapada at the right moment. If the world has experienced moments of compassions and wisdoms in the face of greed, hatred, and delusions, the Dhammapada must be given its due share of credits for it. No doubt the Dhammapada will continue to be the source of inspirations and edifications to all who seek spiritual upliftment within its page. The editor.